You got it.
Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You get more information and listen to previous shows at our website, which is behind me, www.blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Noah Summers, who is an actor. I know I've seen him in several different things. He's a director, he's a fighter, choreographer, a whole bunch of different things. And Noah, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So that is
Hello.
that is the infamous Noah Summers. And Noah, this is the first time you and I have had a chance to speak on the air.
Mhm.
So what I'd like to do is find out a little bit about you. And the question I always ask is in terms of as a kid, or when did you first get into acting and theater stuff?
Well, I've always been the life of the party since I was born. But definitely, as far as like getting up on stage and all that stuff, I was 4 years old. It was just in church, doing a little Christmas recital or something like that, and we had a few lines that the kids, got to say. And I remember I was the first one to have mine memorized, and I was ready to go and ready to steal the show even then.
Do you remember the recital?
I mean, I remember the recital. I don't remember my lines, but I do at this point now. But I do remember it. I remember being on stage, and I was never really nervous about it. I think that's one thing I've always felt most confident on stage. I'm terrible at one-on-one. I could barely order my own food at Taco Bell, but I tell you, you put me on stage, and I'll have them in the palm of my hand.
The reason I asked that question, Noah, is I have this idea, and I think I've discussed it with people at Parkway, but the idea is to do a fundraiser where everybody would do their very first role, So
Hmm.
I assume you did this as a kid. You don't have a record of that somewhere. Do they do a videotape of that?
I maybe I'm sure, and it would be a videotape that far, but not that I know of. But yeah,
But wouldn't that be a
it's
cool
not a terrible
thing?
idea though. I like that. Yeah, I
It's just
would.
it's a fun thing. Everybody recreates their first role. So as a 4-year-old,
Hmm.
so you made it through as a little kid, and when you did that, you weren't nervous at all on stage?
Nope,
Okay.
not at all. I remember feeling just ready. I remember seeing my friends and stuff. They were shaking in their boots, and I was like, no, this is it. I'm ready to do this. I was so ready to get up there.
So graduate from that role. Did you then
Mhm.
uh, act in elementary school, high school, from
Oh yeah,
there?
I acted all through elementary school, middle school, high school, and then all the way into adulthood now. It's something that has been a constant in my life in various forms, but I have always found a way to perform and to entertain.
Now, I think I've seen you a couple of times and always gotten a kick out of you, mostly a comedy, but I assume you do other stuff other than comedy?
Yeah, I've been known to do some dramatic roles. Uh, I mean, I took a break from acting to do professional wrestling. I was a professional wrestler for 6 years, East Tennessee based, which is where I'm from Knoxville. Um, and so I did professional wrestling. So it's a little bit outside of the comedy realm, but yeah.
Well, accepting wrestling certainly is acting, though, I guess, to some degree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what made you get out of wrestling?
Well, I got real prone to concussions. I had a string of head injuries, and that's what made me step away from wrestling. And I auditioned for a show that was over there in Tennessee. It's how I ended up meeting my wife, Hannah Williams. She was the director for A History of the Devil by Clive Barker over there. It was at the Creative Theater. That's no longer there. But that it brought me back into acting. It reignited that passion in me. I forgot that you could perform without waking up the next day with a real bad headache.
Well, I was
But
kidding, saying about wrestling is acting, but you point out that, hey, there's some serious aspects of wrestling too, though, or said you
oh
could
yeah,
get hurt in it, though.
oh yes, yeah, yeah. It got to the point where it was truly risking my life for the art form and for the sport. and it not that it wasn't worth it, but it got to the point where I certainly had to think about, do I want to remember yesterday?
Well, now, did you
So,
also wrestle outside of Tennessee? Did you travel?
oh yeah, so I've wrestled in Indiana. I've wrestled in Oklahoma. I wrestled just about everywhere I went to. Georgia, the Carolinas. I've wrestled mostly Southeast is where I was specifically based out of, in the Ohio Valley area. But yeah.
Were you the good guy or the bad guy?
Oh, bad guy.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, I couldn't. There's no way I could be the good guy. There's no way. I was. That's what I've been typecast as the villain my whole life. I think it's a certain confidence and gravitas I carry myself with that has plagued me with the privilege of being the bad guy.
Is that also in your acting?
Oh yeah. In the history of the devil, I played the devil, and that was what I came back to. And yeah, I mean, if it's Robin Hood, I'm Prince John. If it's if it was Star Wars, I'd be Darth Vader. There's no question in my mind. I when it comes to bad guys, I'm the best guy.
I mean, have you ever been the good guy?
I was George Bailey,
Okay,
and It's a Wonderful Life. But that's about as good of a guy as you can get to be.
right.
Um, uh, Other than that, I mean, I'd be hard pressed to think of a time where I was specifically the good guy or the protagonist in a story that we were telling. So,
Okay, that's something. So now you got out of wrestling and you acted in this one play, and that got you back into it. You decided you want to then become an actor at that point in time?
um, at that point in time, it was just more about just having that creative outlet. I felt like I was kind of spinning my wheels and just digging myself deeper and deeper in the mud and in the void of that, having that creative outlet. And once I came back to it, it just felt right. It felt like home. Being on stage is being at home for me. And I moved around a lot as a kid, and so it's weird to have a place that is home, But stage is home for me, and no matter if that's in front of like at the Parkway stage, or if it's at a Ren Fair, or if it's in a wrestling ring, that was home to me. Was where I was performing. So.
Now, did you, on top of that, did you actually study acting or have you studied it at all?
No, I was too busy acting to no, but I really did. I got tremendous life experience and acting experience. I graduated high school early at the age of 16. I joined the Ren Fair, and that's what I did. I hosted a variety show. I did stunt comedy work, um, and that's kind of what I did for most of my young adult life was again just perform. I did I told my parents I was taking a leap year, or that the break year there in between going to the school and all that. And I said, no, I'm just going to take a year off before I go to college. And I had no intention of going to college. I had every intention of continuing to perform and all that stuff. Um, uh, and the experience I got being on the road and traveling and doing this stuff is invaluable. And a lot of the my cohorts and comrades of the stage that did go to college. There's a lot of things that maybe they have different approaches or methodologies going into it, but at the end of the day, I think that because of my professional wrestling in Ren Fair, I mean, I'm a carny. I'll admit it. I'm carny trash. I'm always looking to get a butt every 18 inches. I'm looking to sell some tickets, and that rock and roll carny, you know, vibe that I bring to the dressing room is never unappreciated.
Look,
But I definitely respect those who did go to school to seek that, higher education in that. I just didn't. It wasn't my passion. It didn't really feel like the right fit for me.
well, let me ask you too, in terms of when you're going to have a role, uh, in terms of preparing for it, do you ever watch, again, if stuff you've been in has been commercially produced, do you ever watch YouTube clips of actors or do you ever watch where as other people have done something?
Um, Maybe it really depends on the role. So me and Hannah Williams, my wife, we worked together on A Midsummer Night's Dream
Okay.
together over at Montford, and I was Puck, and I hate Shakespeare. I'll say it with my chest. I think it's boring. I think it's played out. I think that anytime someone tries to do something different with it, by different they just mean bad. I don't. The Bard never spoke to me, and so when I had that opportunity come up, I had to look. I had to look into it. I had to do research. I had to understand what it was. And I'll say this that watching a lot of different people play Puck. I mean, that it's been done a million different ways. It's really never no two Pucks are ever the same. And so I kind of looked at that, and once I sort of got that feeling, I stopped watching it, and I was like, I got to figure out what's the Noah Summers Puck, and when and develop it from there. But I do think a good basis of maybe you do see somebody else who does it, and you can either learn, oh, I really like how they did that, or I really didn't like how they did that, and make sure I don't do that.
Do you have a favorite role that you've done?
Favorite role? Um, Gosh, I don't. If I had to pick right now, just off the top of my head, I really, really enjoyed and had a good time playing Prince John for
Okay.
Parkway Playhouse. It'd be that, or it'd be George Bailey. Those
And
are those are the two.
I saw you in the production of Robin Hood, which is fantastic. And so that was
Yeah, yeah, so
a,
much fun.
a fun, yeah, you made it fun, which is really kind of cool. Do you have aside from a favorite role, do you have a dream role that down the road you and Hannah do it together or you separately? Do you have something you
Uh,
want to do?
um, yeah, I've always been a big fan. I'd say there's two. There's two that really stick out to me, and that would be Frankenfurter for
Okay.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'd love to be Frank in that. And then the other one would be Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Those are my two different. I know two different ones, but those are the two ones that every time I think about it, I go, man, I do that better than anybody else.
Well, now I'm finding out from you too for the first time. So I know you've
Mhm.
acted, I've seen you in several things at Parkway, but you also now, is this the first time you're directing something this upcoming play?
So this is the first time I'm directing something for Parkway Playhouse. Yeah. So this is, but not my first time directing overall. I have some background in that. Last year, maybe it was year before last, I directed and starred in a Sherlock Holmes and the Case of Christmas Gooch over in Black Mountain Center for the Arts. I did that show over there, and it was an interesting dynamic being both the lead actor and the director. But that's my most recent, other than directing the stage reading for Minister of Sorrow for the inaugural Appalachian Playwriting Festival. But yeah, I have an extensive history with directing and assistant directing other things, but this is my first one at the Playhouse. I'm so excited to do it. I love Parkway so much.
Well, I ask people, so I'll ask you as well, in terms of if you had a preference, acting or directing, do you have a preference?
Um, hmm. Honestly, my preference is fight choreographer, but if I had to choose between acting and directing, I think it's I think it's acting. Well, this last show has been amazing. I set myself on easy mode by having Elisa be my one woman in the one woman show. I mean, she directed herself almost half the time. But I think it's acting, mostly because of the fast and loose way that I like to perform. Um, once the stage lights come up, you're in control. It's up to the quarterback to kind of make that play. Give the tools the coach gave you, make the play happen. So.
Your response was kind of interesting, and I'll ask a lot of other actors, and oftentimes, no, they'll say directing, but they don't tell the
Mhm.
truth because the truth is they don't have to memorize the lines that way, So any act, so especially a one woman play, she can get away
Mhm.
with it because if she misses a line, you're the only one who knows it, but nobody
Yep,
else does if we're watching it.
absolutely.
And
Oh yeah.
since we're talking about this upcoming play that you're directing, a little bit name of it and then the details, and we'll talk about the play itself. So what's the name of the play?
The name of the play is Minister of Sorrow. Yes. It was written by Pam Kingsley for the Appalachian Playwriting Festival this past year, and it won. It is a story about Emma, who's a pack saddle librarian, and so packs out library work. She's taken those books up to the folks of the mountains, those forgotten, families hidden in those hills, and we sort of just learn about her life and how she came to that. I mean, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll make you want to call your mom. It really is just so beautiful. And I said it in my spotlight there on parkwayplayhouse.com. You can see that spotlight I did for them. But I said it's not a show. It's really not a show. When you come see this, you're not coming to see a play. You're coming to see a story, and it's the most tale as old as time. I mean, whenever I first read this, instantly in my head, I was transported to just sitting there on a log full of rot with the smell of citronella and DEET in the air, covered in mosquito spray, and with that big fire going, and then the elders starting to talk and tell stories of their yesteryears, and it just the wealth of the well of information they have is just unfounded. And I've always loved storytellers, the people who can hold court, and I think we all know somebody like that who can, when they start to talk or they have a story to tell, the whole room will get quiet because they want to hear how that goes. And Elisa is definitely one of those people. She holds court when she talks or when she shares something. The whole room is encapsulated in that. And this story, this opportunity that we have at Parkway Playhouse to showcase one of the greatest storytellers in the area, Elisa Bryant, in this show, and the first time ever in the world it's being produced, Minister of Sorrow. I'm truly humbled to have this experience and to work with someone like Elisa and like Marty, who's doing the music, because the music, again, it's not, don't expect coming to hear AC/DC. You're
Right.
gonna hear you're gonna hear you're gonna hear some banjos, and you're gonna hear that Appalachian sound. And so you have the Appalachian look, you have the Appalachian sound, and the most important thing of all, we got the culture. I mean, I'm from Tennessee. Elisa, it's all local, local to the South, that is. And I think a lot of people aren't proud to be from the South, but I think the South, there's a lot worse things you could be than Southern, you know.
You
Northern's
mentioned,
just one of them.
okay. You mentioned a shout out. You mentioned Marty. Marty's last name is, you know,
Marty's last name is, I want to say it's Lewis. I don't know. I just know when he walks in the room, I say, "Hey, Marty."
okay.
So,
But no, it's kind of cool. So we get not only Lisa, but we also get some music in the play as well.
oh yes.
Who
Mhm.
who do you say should see this play in terms of interest level, age level? Who's it for?
Oh, I mean, I know that it's a little old school circus to say, friends and family, children of all ages. But it really is. There's nothing in this that is too risque, and there's nothing, you know, in this that's so dumbed down that it's insulting. This is truly just a show. If you are, I think the best way to say it is if you are from Appalachia, if you are someone who loves Appalachian culture, and if you're someone who hasn't been to Parkway before, this is definitely the show to come and try, because it's going to be unlike anything Parkway's done before. It really is. It's a one of a kind show, and you only get one weekend to see it. So, I mean, to not to put a hat on a hat, but truly anyone. This show is it's for us. It's for us, the people.
So again, it's running this coming weekend. The dates are, do you have them handy? Or I can look it
I
up.
do. It's going to be the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th. It's going to be Friday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and then it'll be that Sunday matinee show at 2:30.
Okay.
Those are the show times for that.
And again, as you point out, there are only 3 times to see it. So if folks want to
That's right.
they should get tickets soon. And how do they get tickets? Do you have the website handy?
Yeah, so you'll just go to parkwayplayhouse.com, and then there'll be a little ticket option. You can click right on Minister of Sorrow, click grab your tickets, and put in how many you want. You can also always go to the box office or call in, get those tickets. I'm not kidding you. As soon as possible. I know it's real cliche to say these things are selling fast, but with this limited time and with it being the inaugural performance. I mean, it's turned out to be one of the best selling shows already, and it's just the first one.
And she's such a fine actor too, that you got in terms of leading role.
Oh yes.
Talk about the process, Noah. Then, how long have you been working on this?
Um, well, I guess I've been working on this now for gosh, over a year. When I really put it into terms of when I started to my brain started to imagine it, envision this, to work on this. The second I read this, I was one of the readers for the Appalachian Playwriting Festival, and the second I read this script, it hit me. It dug its teeth into me. It hooked me. I read it probably 2 or 3 times. I was only supposed to read it once, through, but I read it 2 or 3 times, and every time I read it, it just the cogs in my head just started. And then when I got asked to do the stage reading for it, I had Aaron Ybarra and I had
Okay.
Tegan Anders and all that and Elisa, and I was like, this is the dream team. This is what I need. And that stage reading, and it was perfect. Um, but then even during that process, I was still thinking. I wasn't saying if we win this festival. I was saying when we win this festival, this is how I'm going to do it. And I had the perfect team to tackle it then. I got the perfect team to tackle it now, and truly, I'm just so humbled by how easy this has been to to put together.
So, in terms of rehearsals, how long have you been in rehearsal for this?
In rehearsals for this, we have been doing 3 days a week for about 2 months, I think. So not super long rehearsal. It really is just enough to get Elisa to remember her lines, and then we're off to the races. With it being only a one-person show, and with it having the spontaneity, and with it having that storyteller aspect of it all, it's really just all about memorizing the story and making it come to life.
Will the playwright be in any of the performances?
I believe, yes, Pam will be coming out to see the show. I don't know which show. I will guess opening night, but I'm not 100% certain on that. They're coming all the way from Washington State,
Okay. Wow.
all the way, yeah, as far away as you can get from here. They're going to be flying in and spending some time in Asheville and Burnsville and the greater area there. And yeah, so I believe that Pam will be in attendance for this.
Now, have you gotten a chance to speak to her at all?
Very briefly in some Facebook messages. Both of us have a very full schedule, and so I haven't got to talk to her. Although I would have liked to. We were playing a lot of tag with uh, times to play or times to do a Zoom call, and it just hadn't panned out. But I'm very excited to meet her. This coming weekend when she'll be there in the audience for the show.
Very exciting. Now, let's also talk in our remaining time the fact that aside from directing and acting, you do other things as well. I know you're also a fight choreographer. And for the benefit of the folks who don't know what a fight choreographer is, what exactly is a fight choreographer?
So, a fight choreographer is the person who's responsible for making the actors, number one, safe, number two, look really cool. That's what I always say whenever I first meet the group, is that my job is to make sure that you're safe and that you look real cool. But I am putting together fights, and I know you think, oh, that's got to be easy, but really, the true craft of it, the actual art form of fight choreography, and implementing fight psychology, telling a story. It's okay to throw a punch, but why? Why are you throwing a punch here? What's special about it? A lot of theaters are guilty of just doing moves because they look cool, and that's fine. That's not my style. I like to make sure that the story is being told, and I like to make sure that that there is a high impact when it's needed. There's peaks, there's valleys. You're almost basically writing your own show. You to be a playwright or something like that. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And a fight is the same way. And there's a good guy, there's a bad guy. I think that honestly, my time in professional wrestling and combining that with my time as a fight choreographer, it's brought me a completely unique style to what I do. And when I work with Jared Schultz, he'll constantly get on to me, tell me I'm working too hard for a fight scene. I'm like, no, no, it's all gonna. This has got to go. And I'll do something called working in the round when I don't need to be. And for those that don't know, that's working in complete 360, where no matter where you're standing, the fight's going to read. You're going to be, no matter if it's an actor standing all the way backstage watching it, the punch will still look real to them. And that is very important to me. It's taken time to get the confidence, I would say, to get to be a fight choreographer. But I've gotten to do just wonderful work over at Western Carolina University, and being able to work with them. I worked with them on She Kills Monsters, on Jekyll and Hyde, and just the passion that I get once I put that fight choreographer cap on. The whole room's listening to me when I'm laying out the fight for them. And my style is very different, like I said, than a lot of other people's, but I want to be sure that when you see a fight that I choreograph, number one, that's a Noah Summers fight, and number two, that it was a good fight, you know, and I want those to be synonymous.
I'm thinking out loud as you're speaking, in terms of something you could direct or act in. Have I ever seen a wrestling, I guess, show? I don't know. Has there ever been a show about wrestling?
There are some. There are some. I think there's a musical that just started off Broadway, doing doing a wrestling show that is a musical. There is a play. I don't know the name of it. All I've ever heard is that they're not very good, but that they're fun. And that's always an interesting thing to hear. Well, it wasn't good, but it's fun. I don't.
Well, that's a challenge for you. Have you ever done any playwriting?
No, although I've done a lot of improv, so I assume that if I just improvised the whole show and maybe had my wife or somebody just write down all the things I'm saying, or the or someone who just follow me around while I spitball all day and just throw cupcakes at the wall and see which ones stick. I guess that'd be the way I could playwright, but I'm much better at running my mouth than I am at working a pen.
I'm just saying it tremendous though. Your challenge for you here, take some of all your different kinds of things you've done and put it into something. It just would be kind
Yeah.
of fun thing to see. And we'll kind of conclude on the last play I saw you in. It was at Parkway. What was the title again? You were with Jared was in that also, wasn't he?
Yep. So it was Jared Schultz and it was Morgan Miller, and
Right.
we
Oh
were in
yeah.
a Star Spangled Girl. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And just a
Yeah.
lot of
Star
different kinds,
Spangled Girl.
a lot of different
Hmm.
things you've been in. Uh, Wrap up two things. So if folks want to see the play you're working on, just if you would give the specifics again, date, time, and how to get tickets.
So go to parkwayplayhouse.com. You can also call them 828-682-4285. You can call them, get your tickets, reserve them. You really, really must see this show. I mean, I know a lot of shows say they're must see. Not like this. This is not a show. This is a story. It's a must hear. But you come out and see Minister of Sorrows, Five Pan Kingsley. We're running Friday the 17th, Saturday the 18th, Sunday the 19th. On Friday and Saturdays are going to be 7:30 p.m. On Sunday, the matinee 2:30 p.m. You can come see it and still be home in time for dinner. So.
And the cool thing about Parkway is it's just a really neat place to do a show and
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's
nice
beautiful.
place to do it.
You smell the history as soon as you walk in.
And lastly, Noah, if folks want to get in touch with you specifically, either to talk about acting gigs or directing gigs or fight sequence gigs, what's the best way to reach you?
Facebook or via email. On Facebook, I'm going to be at Noah Stout. And then my email is going to be conman9498@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of me on Instagram at the Human Muppet. And that'll be the ways you can get in contact with me there.
Okay. Anyway, I'd like to thank you, Noah Summers, for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World webcast. I also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. Hopefully we'll see you again in person sometime in the near future, Noah. You be well.
Absolutely. Thank you. You too.